Hi, this is the last part of our video lesson. So in this video, I will show how can we configure trunks. In this lab note, we will concentrate on how to configure static trunks. All right, so the first step is we would like to configure trunking on switch 1 and use VLAN 99 as the native VLAN. But before I show about the trunk, why we need trunk? So notice that previously we have tried to ping PC1 and PC4. So although PC1 and PC4 sits within the same VLAN and the same subnet, in video lesson 2, it shows that when you ping PC1 to PC4, the ping is not successful. However, in the first video lesson 1, I already verified the connectivity of PC1 to PC4 and the ping is successful. And it is successful before we configure the VLAN and assigning the port to that particular VLAN. So what happened here is the reason why the ping, when you assign the port to the VLAN, the ping is not successful because you have to understand when you apply the VLAN and the switch port mode as access mode, the port will only accept the frame or the packet with the frame with the same VLAN tag. Because we already assigned VLAN tag, like for example, if we want to ping from PC1 to PC4, so the packet will go through FA011 and FA011 is already assigned to VLAN 10. When the packet goes out from FA011 through G01, so we have not applied any configuration for that particular G01. So meaning the packet will with the VLAN tag will be dropped. Hence the reason why the ping is not successful. So what is the method that can resolve the issues? So the method is we need to use trunk because and what is trunk? You can see here in this topology, trunks need to be set on G01 of switch 2 and also G01 on switch 1 and also G02 on S1 and G02 of S3. So when you configure a trunk, so basically the path or the link will accept all frame with any VLAN tag. So that's why if you see here, if we set this port, this particular port as a trunk, you will all packet with different VLAN tag, like VLAN 10, VLAN 20, or VLAN 30 can be sent through this particular link. But because we haven't set trunk on S1 or any of the S1 port, so basically the frame will be discarded. So what, and that's the reason why the ping is not successful from PC1 to PC4. So now what we're going to do is we will continue with part 4 of the lab notes. We will configure the trunk. So in here, the trunk need to be set on S1. Actually, we actually need to set the trunk mode to both S1 and S2. But because we have enabled by default the DTP, the dynamic trunking protocol, so we will allow negotiation to happen on S2 and S3, and we just set the trunk mode on switch 1. Okay, so now I will configure the switch 1 only. on switch 1, there's 2 port here that is connected to other networking device, which is switch 2 and switch 3. So we need to set the trunk to both, the trunk mode to both port. So because both of the port has the same mode, and also we would like to assign native VLAN, the same native VLAN, assign the port as a native VLAN. So basically here, we will, instead of configuring one by one, the port one by one, so we will use the command interface range. This is very useful. The command is very useful, interface range, if you have if you have to configure a range of switch port with the same configuration. Right, so here the interface range, sorry, it's not fast Ethernet, it's G, is gigabit Ethernet, G0, 1 until 2. If you have G01 until 10, so you just put G01 until 10. Okay, but here we only have 2 ports on S1 that will be configured as trunk. So the range is G01 to 2. And then we assign it to trunk. So switch port mode trunk, it's very easy. So you can see now the protocol is up. And then we assign VLAN 99 as the native VLAN for the trunk. Switch port trunk, native VLAN 99. So notice that here, the differences in assigning VLAN between the port with access mode and the port with trunk mode is, first, we need to change the mode here. Previously, when assigning VLAN number to a port, we use switch port access and then VLAN something, VLAN 10, right? But in trunk, we need to use the assign switch port mode, which is switch port trunk. And then if you want to assign another VLAN as native VLAN, so it is followed by native VLAN and then the VLAN number. Okay, notice that here you can see that there is a message saying that there is a native VLAN mismatch. Because of why? For the link between switch 1 and switch 2, the native VLAN for switch 2 is VLAN 1. And the native VLAN for switch 1 is VLAN 99 that we have assigned earlier on. So basically this trigger the syslog message. But if you, even if there's a native VLAN mismatch, it's okay. It's just a warning, okay? And you can proceed with configuring, you can proceed with pinging, okay? So we try to ping 172.17.10.24 again. So you can see now, once we have configured the trunk, so the connectivity between PC1 and PC4 is enabled. So now, let us look and verify the trunk configuration on both switch 1 and switch 2. And you can do the same for switch 3 as well. So basically here, if I would like to see what are the, messages, syslog message will keep coming because there's a VLAN mismatch, but I would like you to actually issue the command show interface trunk so that we can see what is the status, the trunk status for both port in switch 1. So I want to compare here the trunk status on switch 1 and switch 2. So show interface trunk. Oops. Okay. Now, notice that, okay, so I just want to put this side by side. All right. So the right side, the right windows is switch 1 and the left one is switch 2. So notice that on switch 1, the mode, the trunk mode is on. Okay, and on the switch 2, the trunk mode is auto. What does it mean? It means that in here, when the mode is on, meaning it is a permanent, a static trunk, because we configured the port using, we already manually configured the port as trunk mode. But here, because we never configured for G01, we never configured the port as a trunk, but because DTP, Dynamic Trunking Protocol, is enabled on that particular switch, hence the reason why the port dynamically negotiate with switch 1, and hence the reason here the mode is dynamic auto. And you see here the native VLAN for switch 2 is 1, and the native VLAN for switch 1, we already changed it to 99. And another thing that you need to take note is the VLAN allowed on that particular port. So basically, this is what I say. When a port is configured as trunk, so all frame with different VLAN tag can go through the link. So we need to check. We need to check that all of the VLAN that we have created is allowed on the trunk port. The same goes with switch 1. Okay. So next step is what we are going to do is we would like to change the native VLAN. It's on step 2. Step 2, correct native VLAN mismatch on switch 2 and switch 3. So I'm going to click on switch 2 and go to port, on switch 2, go to port G01. And then we will assign, you don't need to assign the mode trunk to that particular port, because we are using, as I said again, we are using DTP negotiation there, as I already mentioned in lecture. So now what we have to do is we just assign switch port trunk native VLAN 99. This is to match the VLAN and the native VLAN on switch 1. So we'll do the same for switch 3, face G02. So switch port trunk native VLAN 99. All right. So just press fast forward. Okay, and then we look again. Do show interface trunk. Okay, you can see here. Now the VLAN, native VLAN for switch 2 has been changed to 99. You can also perform command do show interface if you want to look at a particular port G01 switch port. So you can see here for switch 2, the mode, the trunk mode is dynamic auto. Okay, dynamic auto. So there's a negotiation on the trunk. And if I look at the properties, of G01 on S1. So show interface G01 switch port. So you can see the difference here. So on switch 2, the mode, the trunk mode is dynamic auto, but on S1 the trunk mode is static trunk. And you can see here both have negotiation, even though you apply or you configure the static trunk, but because on S2 they perform the negotiation using DTP with S1, so the negotiation of trunking is on. So by default, negotiation of trunking is on, as I have mentioned in the lecture. Okay, so you can see that here this is the trunk encapsulation, meaning if you are configuring trunk, so the encapsulation protocol for that particular frame is .1Q protocol. So in this you need to remember, because this protocol will also be used here, will also be used for inter-VLAN routing. So lastly, I would like to see if I can ping between PC1 to PC2. Previously, we have tested and it fails. Now, I would like to see again if we have set the trunk, assigned VLAN, right? So whether I can ping PC2 or not. So now I'll just ping 20.22. So it seems like even though we have set and the trunk and assigning the VLAN, you still cannot ping PCs on another VLAN because they are sitting on different subnet. Okay, so what we have done here is still on layer 2. So if you want to ping or connect to PCs on different subnet or different VLAN, we need another mechanism, which what we call as inter-VLAN routing. So inter-VLAN routing, you will learn it next in next lesson. So that's all for today. Thank you and see you in the next video lesson.